here today with Ryan Serhant. He's one of the top residential brokers in New York City, and he's also sort of a brand unto himself as one of the stars of Million Dollar Listing New York. Ryan is known for a lot of things. He's known for his hustle. He essentially built a brand from scratch. He's also known for doing whatever it takes to sell a listing, and along the way, he's become one of the biggest experts on the residential market. So Ryan, thanks so much for being with The Real Deal.
Of course.
So you kind of blew up, I want to say, in 2013, 2014, 2015, when the market was at a different level. I mean, steroids is not enough of a term to use for where the market was. How much of that exuberance are you seeing now? Is it all died out?
I think the market has diversified, and I think it's also gotten a lot smarter than it was a couple years ago. I think that because my first day was September 15th, 2008. It was the day Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy, which is the only reason I know that exact date, because I was all excited to go get OPs from landlords and rent apartments in Koreatown, and everyone was in the conference room watching the world fall apart. But I had no money, so I was like, oh man, tough day. What do I do next? My career kind of started from the bottom there when everyone else had been at the top and then come down and then started to climb back up. And I just sort of rose with everybody else, right, as the market slowly came back. And I learned along the way. But, hindsight's 2020. So the market was only awesome because we can talk about it that way now compared to what we're dealing with today. At the time, I didn't know what was going on. All I knew was everyone freaked out about the fiscal cliff in December 2011, and then January 1, 2012 happened, and we put a small listing in Gramercy on the market, and we had a line out the door for the open house, and I had never experienced that before in my career, which was 4 years old at the time, and we just sort of took a step back and said, oh, weird, maybe people will start buying things again, and then we rode that for 3 years, bidding wars, figuring everything out, and now we've just had to diversify. So a couple years ago, that's when I went into deep Brooklyn and Bed-Stuy.
What do you classify as deep Brooklyn? Because the definition varies.
So 2 years ago, I said that Bed-Stuy was deep Brooklyn. Now deep Brooklyn to me is like East New York.
There you go.
And so we opened up the office in Bed-Stuy, and we started going after listings and townhouse developers and everything we could all over Brooklyn, just because it was harder and harder and harder to sell a 2-bedroom in Manhattan that faced a brick wall for $5 million. And then as business comes and business goes, we adapt and we flex and we diversify as much as possible. That way I want to be, I said yesterday, I think in an interview that, from Bed-Stuy to Shanghai, I want to be everywhere at all times because I just don't know where the market's going to be next year. No one knows. And whether it's a 2-family in Bed-Stuy that will sell tomorrow, or whether it's working with Shanghai Construction Group for Manhattan View or Greenland USA for 550 Vanderbilt, right? I want to be the guy that everybody goes to, and that's how I will protect myself against market swings.
But you're doing this, you're talking all these things that you're talking about, 550, they're all new developments,
Sure.
Right? But you're on our most recent ranking, you're the number 2 resale broker in New York as well.
Yeah.
So that's become an increasingly bigger, more important part of your business.
Sure. Because listen, I think anyone who says that they just work with sellers or they just work with buyers or they only do new development is, I don't know, they're either lying or they are just not protecting themselves, because I've been in this market long enough to know that all of those tend to go up and tend to come down, and when they come down really hard. And so we're in a market right now where things aren't sold, right? They're bought. Yeah. Whereas 4 years ago, we were in a market where things were sold. And so you wanted to be working with sellers and developers. Now you want to be working with everybody possible. And new development's great, but it can take a long, long time. And it's great for marketing, it's great for brand, it's great for my team. And I have different team members who work on all different types of projects. So it's not just me and one person on every project. Right. So my team is very, very, very involved, all 62 of them.
Right, I think you said something about I want to be everywhere, and it seems like you are everywhere. You've got 2 TV shows, probably doing a book that I don't know about. You're doing these conferences and seminars. You're also trying to get FaceTime with developers who really appreciate having that person in front of them. So tell me how much of the heavy lifting do you do, and how much of it is Ryan Serhant, the marketing persona, and then steps away and then lets the agents do the work?
I mean, I view my team much like a football team, right? Like I am a quarterback, but I cannot win a game without everybody else. But I'm not just grabbing the ball and running down to the end zone every single time.
So how does that work? Are you able to talk nitty-gritty of price per foot on,
Yes.
on listings? And are you able to tell a developer, look, this is why I think we should get this?
Yes. I'm a part of almost every negotiation. I'm a part of most important showings that I have to do. I mean, that's what I do all day long. I mean, people wonder if I'm just in front of a camera all day, but I sit in the backseat of that car and I loop the island of Manhattan.
What's your driver's name again?
Yuri. He's been with me for 5 years. I talk to him more than I talk to my wife. But yeah, I've been with him forever, and we just loop Manhattan, and we go to Brooklyn and Long Island City. We have a big project coming out there, and that way I never have to stop working. So whether I'm in my home office, my mobile office, or my office, I'm always connected to everybody, and I could talk to everybody at 20 hours a day.
I told Jonathan Miller you were coming in. I said, give me a couple of wild card questions for Ryan, because
man.
And he's a data wonk, so he's gonna come up with these. But he said, he's like, ask Ryan if the sort of the era, are sellers less shameless than they were a couple of years ago? So you had, there's one listing I'm thinking of in particular, which is the Ritz-Carlton in Battery Park Plaza, $118 million, which was $7,600 a foot downtown.
Which would never happen today.
So tell me why you took that, and tell me what it does for you, because knowing what you know about the market, there's no way that you expected that to sell for anything close.
We didn't know at the time. We had an offer on that was just about, like, it was 80 or 81. It was a Chinese buyer, but it was
81 for that?
So far off, and they wouldn't even talk about it. And then I lost the listing, and other people took it, and so on and so forth. But that was, I think there was like a 24-month ripple effect after Kyle Blackman sold a penthouse at 15 Central Park West, where everyone said, it's New York City, anything is possible, and you just didn't know. Like, who knew that would sell? So you didn't know.
And what does that mean for you? Like, is there a benefit to, is it something that people think of, oh, he wasn't able to sell that? Or is it just, if you managed to sell it, it would be like a miracle? I wonder about that. What does it mean for your brand if a listing like that sort of comes into your hands and then slips away?
I mean, I don't really care, right? I live by the deal through and through, and you're only as good as your last deal. So I listed it, did everything I could to sell it. We did drone videos, we did everything possible, and we couldn't sell it. So you move on. And it's, not anything that we couldn't do, right? It's not like it wasn't for want of trying, but it's okay. We're not going to sell every single listing, but we'll sell as many as we possibly can.
Are you able to tell me a little bit about a come to Jesus moment that you've had with a seller? So a seller says, I can get $5,500 a foot for this. It's actually closer to 3.5 or 4 that project or that property should sell for. Tell me a little bit about that. Do you walk away, or do you do you do your thing?
Yeah, I walk away more now than I used to. Right? I used to have that conversation of, listen, we can try, but this is where the market is, and if we don't get there, we have to adjust. And now, because of Street Easy, and because everyone is a genius, and because everyone has all the information necessary, we can't just try anymore, because once you get that little red arrow, you are screwed.
But even if they say, look, I've got 3 people who told me that it could sell for X.
Then we say, good luck and Godspeed, and may heaven rest your soul. The conversation that I have to have more now is, have you seen that movie, The Lincoln Lawyer, with Matthew McConaughey?
Yes, a little while ago, though.
So there's a scene where I think the actor is Michael Pena, and he negotiates people's like death penalties and all that, and he's telling the guy that he's got to take the charges or they're going to convict him of death and give him a lethal injection. So the conversation that I have to have now more than anything with sellers is my or the needle speech. And that's listen, like, if we don't take this deal, the next deal is going to be worse, the next deal is going to be worse. And then you go off market, and then that house that you're already in contract for in Westchester or Chicago, I don't know how you're going to come out of it. And this is the best that we're going to have on the table as far as I can tell. And so it's it's that kind of come to Jesus or the needle speech, and we have that a lot more now than ever before. But if you want to sell now, this is where we can sell it. And because of how people search for real estate now, we can no longer price high and negotiate low. You must price low and negotiate high. I just came back from Australia. Their model of how they sell real estate is the greatest thing in the world. They have like a Street Easy, but there's no pricing. There are people search within brackets, and then you have 30 days to look at properties, and then you go to a Saturday auction and you make bids. And it either sells or it doesn't. But there's no imaginary seller saying, like what you just said, I want $5,000 a foot, and the broker's like, well, I want the listing, so let's see what happens. So you have all this price inflation, and then you have $100 million penthouses that get cut to 50. Like, that doesn't happen in Australia because it's just not their model. And they look at us and they say, What? Like, why? How
I
does
thought
that
you were
work?
trying to imitate an Australian accent. I wasn't sure if you were going to try.
Hello. No, that's not it. I'm
That's
terrible.
not it,
I'm
no.
terrible. That's why I do reality TV. Couldn't make it as an actor.
But when it comes to asking prices, that's something that we've actually been exploring. Why have an asking price at all? What does it actually mean for the market? Why even go there? Just put a property out there, showcase its characteristics, and then let the market decide.
Ego.
Okay.
Ego. It's New York City, so it's ego. People want to take that listing and send it to their friends, and they don't want to have to explain why the valuation is lower than where everyone thinks it is. It's going to change. I don't know who's going to do it first, but it will change, and the market will go into, I honestly believe that in the next 5 years, we'll see a standardized form of auction sales in New York City.
You said you couldn't make it as an actor, which isn't true. You've had a couple of interesting movies, but what you're best known for outside of the business is reality TV, right? $1 Million Listing New York, Sell It Like Serhant, and I don't know what else. I've stopped watching the show after season 2.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. You tell me. What changed? I like the fighting between you guys and Luis and all that.
Yeah.
And once he sort of faded away a little bit, wasn't as exciting to me. But what's the latest? What should people know about it now?
Every season is bigger and better, and because it has to be. Like, we can't sell the same property multiple times, and we can't work with the same people. So every season we sit there and we say, listen, okay, tomorrow I'm going on a pitch for this townhouse. The seller is a little bit interesting. Come, let's film that. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
So, the show takes us a long time to shoot because they follow these deals in real time,
Right.
which is kind of a big pain. I wish that we could just do it in a month, but we can't. But the show, listen, people watch it all over the world. We're obviously biased because we're in this business, but it is, it's following the real estate agent's life in New York City. Not necessarily just the real estate, right? It's not just that one property. It's how do you stay motivated and stay active and live your life in this crazy city and deal with these sellers and these developers and these buyers as they try to beat you down every day. And I think that's what people like watching.
And so it's still not, it's as you said, you've got fans from all over the world. The traction that you have on certain posts on your Instagram or social media are things that you can then leverage for your business. And I'm sure you've had a lot of success with that. Within the industry, there's still a lot of pushback. So Leonard Steinberg, he recently wrote, reality TV is like pornography. A lot of it is faked, right?
Yeah.
What's your response to that? And talk a little bit about how you can actually use it to be a better broker.
I mean, I don't know what type of porn he's watching, but in terms of what's faked and what's not. But it is, listen, the show follows all real deals. I mean, you can check it, right? I think Real Deal does that, as does Curbed and everybody else. It's all public record. It's all there. And NBC, Universal, and Bravo are very, very strict on that, which is part of why it takes us 9 months to film a season.
But I think he was referring to the theatrics, the going back and forth when a deal's already done, some of that. Does that ever play into, is there embellishment? Is there all of that?
No. I mean, I would say that anytime there's a camera in front of someone's face, you up the ante. You have to, right? Remember, too, that season 1 of that show, we filmed with 4 agents, and the producers told us the one who is the least entertaining will be cut after you film the entire season. And so all of us were like, oh man, I don't want to waste my time. And 2, I don't want to be the real estate agent that was fired from a real estate agent TV show. And so I think that was really the fire that was lit underneath us to make every season as big as possible. So would I always do an open house with bands and music and all this craziness? Probably not. But the show, I've always said, is kind of like this metaphorical gun to my head to be bigger and better than I would be otherwise.
It sort of still is you, right? Dwayne Johnson had this great quote about him and being The Rock. And he's like, The Rock is Dwayne Johnson with the volume just turned up a little bit, right? I think that's similar to what you do. But talk a little bit about how you can use it to get more business. Because that's something some people have been on the show that are not necessarily household names. I think you know that.
I mean, the real estate business in itself is driven by people who do not take days off, right? You have to work incredibly hard. And so the minute that show happened, I was doing one building in the financial district and mostly doing little rentals. And I said, I've got this one ticket, this one card, and I am going to scream it from a mountaintop until it's over, because one day it will end. and I need to milk as much of it as I possibly can. So, you use it with developers and sellers when you sit there and you say, listen, I use all the same marketing platforms that everybody else does. I have an incredible social media presence that most people don't. And if you'd like to be on television, that's something that we can talk about. But at the end of the day, even I don't have that final say. And you see that play out a lot in new development, right? That's why we work so much with developers, because they have a huge asset. They want the most exposure for it possible, because it's not just one apartment, it's hundreds, and they want it all over the world. And what better advertising that they don't have to pay for than a broker who brings all that advertising for the same price as any other broker that they would hire.
Let's take the flip side then, the Upper East Side co-op, 845 Fifth Avenue, or something where it's very discreet, old money, they don't want necessarily that kind of publicity. How do you play that listing?
Yeah.
Hey Ryan, you're a great guy,
Sure.
I love your energy, but you know what? I don't want 50,000 people knowing that I'm selling this property.
Sure.
And I don't want any stunts, hijinks. I've lived here for a long time.
Yeah.
My neighbors know me. I'm still going to see them at the club or the yeshiva or the synagogue or wherever. I don't want that kind of attention.
So people, it kind of sounds crazy, but my listing agreements are all pretty specific, and sellers will write in what they want and what they don't want.
I want to talk a little bit, zoom out from reality TV for a second and talk a little bit about some of the forces that are happening in the market that are maybe causing a lot of concern. There's been, over the last year, the Chinese government, for example, has really cracked down on capital outflows from the country. A lot of big developers have been affected. A lot of big investors have been affected. And even on the consumer level, you're seeing a lot of buyers pull back because they can't get their money out. Is that being resolved in some way, or where do you see that going?
It's always something around the world, and New York City will sell to someone somewhere at any time. For the most part, for the high-end residential market in New York City, the lockdown on capital outflows from China hasn't really affected us. Okay. Right? A lot of money comes out of Hong Kong / everywhere else. I think what will affect us mostly is the LLC laws, and we'll have to see what happens there. But we've seen a lot of domestic purchasers get back into the market this month. Like those two big deals that I talked about, doing at the beginning of the year. Those were New Yorkers who kind of let the foreigners come in and kind of flood everything out, and then they step back in when they're ready.
And they get a better deal that way?
Yeah, they can get better deals. And listen, people in New York like to work with other New Yorkers, right? I think real estate is hyper-local that way. Even though they want the absolute best price, at the same time, doing a New York developer selling to a guy from the Upper West Side goes a long way.
The LLC law that you talked about, so the Treasury's tried a couple of iterations. Now they've extended the law to different markets. They've talked about Brooklyn as well, being part of it. But why would that really trip things up? Because it's just a matter of filing extra paperwork. Initially, it didn't cover wire transfers. Now it does.
Yes.
But what's going on? Are you actually seeing people say, hey, I don't want to make this happen if this is something I need to go through?
Sometimes, yeah. We've seen it more than we had before because it didn't exist before.
Yep.
But you have a lot of people who want to invest, like good people, regular people who have money, they want to invest in property, and they just don't want people to know about it. They want to stay private. They work for public companies. They don't want people to know that they spent $10 million on an apartment. And if the government is going to get involved in how people invest their money in real estate, then they're going to say, all right, then I'm not doing it in New York City, right? Let's go somewhere else. Let's go to Canada. Let's go to another country. Let's go to another state.
But people forget that you're not Serhant Inc. People forget that you're actually Ryan Serhant, Nest Seekers International. There's a reason for that. You're your own platform. You have a bigger brand than the firm that you work for. Why still work there?
Because the firm doesn't matter anymore. I mean, Nest Seekers has always been great to me, and they always will be. And I have a situation that I wouldn't be able to have anywhere else, right? I basically run a company within a company, and Eddie and everybody at Nest Seekers Corporate understands that the brokerage model has changed. Brokers need to have their individual brands and run their individual companies, and that's how it works. You can't put caps on team sizes or caps on expenses or listings. I don't want bureaucracy or red tape anywhere. Otherwise, I would go do my own thing. But it's nice to have a company of 600 brokers with 18 offices behind you, even though you're doing your own thing by yourself every day.
A lot of people want to break into the luxury market. It's an incredibly demanding time. It's tough. It's tough for you as well sometimes. It's challenging. What are people doing wrong, or what should people be doing that they're not doing? It's a pretty blanket question, but you take it where you want to go.
Sure. I would say there are three things. One is they take too much time off. I think that if you're in a commission business and you're in a sales business, until you get to where you need to be, you can't take a day off. I see too many brokers who come to me. I talk to brokers all over the country, and they still want to go play golf on Saturdays and have their weekends and do that. So they should go do that, and they should have another job. You shouldn't complain. It drives me absolutely insane. Number two is that they don't have a vision board for the type of broker or agent that they want to be. So you have to project the agent you want to be every single day. So when you wake up and when you go to bed, if you want to be a broker who sells $5 million homes every single day, project that into your mind and be that broker. Go find those people. And then once you get that one person, make sure you say no to all the other business, and then you scream it from a mountaintop.
So when you were in that phase where like, I want to be this person, but right now I can't even pay rent, how did you go about it? Because once you got that listing and you went single-minded at it, sounds like you did, how'd you make ends meet and how'd you make it happen? The hand modeling was done, right? I don't think you were doing that anymore.
I did hand modeling a little bit at the same time, so that was helpful. I had a little bit of savings because my grandfather had died.
What's the deal?
What do you mean? I have like beautiful piano fingers. What's wrong with you? They're not as nice as they used to be because I don't Lubriderm every day, but it was a thing for a little while.